Well, an interesting case of moral responsibility and the difficulty of decision making, I think, could be cited President Truman at the end of during his office as president. The only person he really didn't get out the way that would have obstructed his administration as he saw it, what he needed to do, his agenda, was the head of the FBI. And is it Edgar Hoover? And it was reckoned because Edgar Hoover probably had something on Truman that could defame him and all the rest of it. Now, I don't know how serious the matter was, and of course that would, any more than anyone else, that would depend, if you like, on the outcome of a serious inquiry into it at the time, which Truman didn't risk. Yeah. What should he have done? Did he do the right thing? Because it could have brought down his administration. And, you've been impeached, for instance, conceivably. I don't know what the accusations might have been in Hoover's, secret fund of information. And it was considered that Hoover may well have created evidence to incriminate certain people, and they couldn't risk going through some public display of what the accusations are, whether true or false, because, it sticks and it could wreck people's reputation and standing. So he had great power. And assuming, and I think it's probably so, that Truman would like to have removed such a guy, he didn't risk it, it seems. But he could have risked it near the end of his first administration, which he was not voted in for. He simply ascended to the office as vice president because Roosevelt had just died. So possibly it was the wisest thing to do, was to put up with Hoover in the meantime. But when he got near the end of his first term of office, and it looked as though he could lose his position, then he could have risked it. Or even at the end of, as it turned out, of course, he was voted in, he could have sorted the Hoover issue out near the end of his next term of office. The cost in terms of his agenda would have been lower, to say the least, than potential cost. And he would have seriously improved the FBI, I think, for who knows how long into the future, had he have done so. He didn't risk that, and perhaps he had good reason that we don't know of. Perhaps that could be found out, I don't know. But do you see, what he achieved in his administration was pretty good. On all accounts, on many accounts. And as it turned out, at the end of his first office, the one that he wasn't voted in for, he just inherited, so to speak, he signed a thing to recognise the existence of Israel as a newly created state, and gained probably such popularity from that he had an elected term of office to follow. which seemed, in a sense, a very good outcome, but still left Hoover in situ, and that was probably, it looks to be from history, a very bad thing. Okay, whatever Truman achieved in his 2 terms of office, fine. When he got near the end of the second term, again, he could have had the option of bringing everything he could to light about Hoover, and even stuff about himself. Nothing lost if he wasn't going to have a 3rd term of office anyway. Unless, of course, Hoover had successfully arranged at least some apparent evidence that would so seriously incriminate Truman that he could, for instance, be executed. I mean, war crimes or something. I mean, I don't know. I mean, whatever. And of course, Truman might know that or suspect it, and therefore want to save his own life, or some very large, like life imprisonment sentence. I mean, I don't know what a man like Hoover might have accused Truman of. I suspect, though, in a case that opened up all the information about Hoover, in fact, there would be a whole mass of people with a great deal of power that could steer things in their own interest as an outcome, and get rid of Hoover. You can't tell, can you? So it's a decision made in uncertainty. What's the most rational thing to do? Morally, I personally think it's acceptable that you do that which saves your own life. You are designed to be terrified of losing your own life, unless, of course, you're an incredibly, if you like, noble person. But for most people, it's understandable that they, I couldn't do it because I was, in effect, going to lose my life if I did. And as a consequence, yes, many other people suffer, but that is the way we are made. We put our life first, and if we don't, we tend not to survive very long, and therefore we don't stay in this world for which we are meant to be, as I understand it, so that we learn to find our way to life eternal. In particular, by coming to love God with heart, soul, mind and strength. All heart, soul, mind and strength, perhaps, I don't know. So, I don't say that, unquestionably Truman should have done so and so. It depends on facts that seem to be the case from Truman's point of view, and his relationship to making decisions in uncertainty. It would have been, in a sense, well, you can imagine a very good outcome where, yes, everything was brought to light. There were accusations that were against Truman. Some of them were clearly fabricated. Some of them may or may not have been. Others, quite honestly, the public just wanted to say, right, well, it's under the carpet. And you get some token, he's in home detention for a year. Amazing things happen in courts, don't they? I mean, it can go anyway. There's, what was it? The law is an ass, isn't it? You can get quite good outcomes sometimes out the blue, and sometimes terrible outcomes out the blue in a court. You just can't tell. There's a high degree of risk, and perhaps you could say, and therefore Truman did the best thing. Depends on what your values are, doesn't it? When he decided to recognise Israel as a state, well, that had a wonderful outcome for his election, which gave him opportunity for a second term of office, which I assume, at least from his administration's point of view, was very good. I don't know enough about it. You could spend months on studying a case like this, couldn't you? And then you've only got very incomplete information, of course. Yeah, well, I must listen to this again, see if I got anywhere, or if it's just I'll see how we get on. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.
Yes, well, I think I did, but in a sort of bizarre way that it occurs to me, his name is a true man, Truman. Fancy going, to stand as president with a name like True Man, man of truth. Well, I don't know, I know we shouldn't elevate man too much, but I rather want to see Truman as quite a true man. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Names are bizarrely, it seems, valid sometimes. How about Roosevelt? A ruse. Do you know what a ruse is? Something that's not genuine. He was eternally being secretive, double-minded, shifting about. It was a sort of smoothie way of being a gentleman president. Truman wasn't like that. So nobody wasn't from this upper class in US society. Roosevelt, belt. Belt I think of as a cloth. Hides covers. A ruse of velvet. They're the associations of the sound. To character. About the name Hoover. Well, I think of a vacuum sweeper, I'm afraid. In product labelled, we used to call a vacuum sweeper in England a Hoover, even though that was a trade name, particular product. They're all called Hoovers because I suppose the early ones were, I think there's another firm called Electrolux, that may have been American as well. But Hoover, one that sucks up. Sucks up all the dirt. What a good name. If you know what I mean. Yes. Chap was talking at a meeting this evening. He was talking about the power of words. Well, of course, superstition had it, things like abracadabra, magic pronouncements, and it's in Christianity too, with the holy equivalent, the speaking in tongues, Holy Spirit, prayer, power of the Word of God. What the worldling has seen as just childish superstition. But in the mind, sounds have association. And the sounds may speak louder than the words, if you know what I mean. And it does seem the poet has mastery of this area. And the songwriter too. Do you know of a group called ABBA? Two good-looking girls and two fellas. The girls did the singing. And I think they were Swedish. Scandinavian of some sort. And yet they could write songs in English and sing with all the words were the modern English phrases that were actually used by youth. In large measure, so that every phrase would ring true to a certain association in an ordinary English person's mind, English speaking. And I felt that was something of Bob Dylan too. In his case, it was always said the person who definitely could not sing. But my goodness, could he write songs and sing them in a form that was so acceptable to people. You just felt he was so genuine and real some way. Detached from the chaos of the world. Not able to set himself apart from it. Not be tainted by it in a sense, in a strange way. Rated as, by many people, as the greatest poet of the 20th century. Bob Dylan. Power of words. And as I say, he told the Beatles off when he met them. He said, why aren't you leading your generation in the way that you could? This was before Bob Dylan had seen the light, so to speak, and was becoming religious, you understand. But this incredible high moral purpose. And it profoundly affected the Beatles. They turned over a new leaf in their style from then on. And, I think it was two of them at least took up religious practice, not necessarily traditional Christian, of course, but very earnestly. One, I think, followed a Japanese, was it? Spiritual master, so to speak, and another followed Paramahansa Yogananda, most earnestly. It's a sidetrack, isn't it? The power of music, the power of sound, if not to change matter, and it may do, but certainly to change other people's thoughts and values and intentions and aspirations. And I think aspirations in my mind is the strongest one. Greatly affects our aspiration and ultimately our values. My word, says Jesus, they are spirit and they are life. Wow. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.